I'm very hard on myself. I feel.
Do you watch most of your performances?
I can't.
Interesting.
It's really hard for me. Like, I just did an episode of Stalker, and it took me about a month before I watched it because I'm so hypercritical of the stuff that I do. But that to me is just my ego, because on the day, all I'm saying is, okay, whatever the character's name is, I already forgot, come through, like, let's go. And then whatever comes out is what's meant to come out.
Right.
And if slight adjustments need to be made, slight adjustments are made.
What's the Laurence Olivier story you always tell about Dustin Hoffman and Laurence Olivier? I'm extending my hand to Eric Shaw Quinn, dinner party show people, since you can't see it.
The reason I love the story is because I actually got to ask John Schlesinger about the story. He was making Marathon Man, the two of them, and there's a scene where Dustin is going to be tortured by Laurence Olivier's character, who is a dentist, a killer dentist or whatever, and John directed the film. And Dustin came in the day of the shoot, and he'd, stayed up all night and thrown himself down a flight of stairs and done all kinds of, stuff to sort of get himself to a kind of distressed point so that he could begin in the middle of this torture session. And Laurence Olivier is legendarily reported to have said, well, my dear boy, why don't you try acting?
Right? You knew it. Yeah. You knew the punchline, Heather.
John says that he didn't actually say it to Dustin, that he said it to John when they were looking at the dailies. So that he was, which I think I like that story better, because it would be a bit much to say that to a fellow actor.
Right. You would,
on the set.
Almost calculating
on
to
the
throw
set.
them.
That's kind of hideous. But to have said it at dailies, like, well, I don't know. Why doesn't he try acting? He looks terrible.
Yeah, I mean, to each their own. But that to me also is a bit of ego in regards to look at all of this work I'm doing as opposed to just doing it.
Right, just showing up, yeah.
Right.
I think Ang Lee said that of Joan Allen, that she could just do it. Like, it didn't matter what was going on the set, she could just start. Yeah. Because she would just start where she was.
Yeah.
And start to,
Let's go.
Yeah.
We'll talk about your wife and kids.
I think it's amazing. I have like a sprinkling of community theater in my background. I wouldn't call myself an actor, because I think writing often is so, or for me, feels so the opposite of that.
No, but I feel like it's the same exact thing.
I agree.
It's this, because for me, and I am not as, I'm not going to characterize myself, in terms of a writer as you are. However, when I do write, what I find to be so fascinating is it starts with, for me, a visual scene, and I write it down, and then I write down what I see, and I write down what I hear, and then a few pages in, they'll say something, and I'll say, no, that doesn't make sense. No. And they'll be persistent.
Right.
And I'll do it, and then I'll be like, oh my fucking God, you were right, because on page 13, this makes complete sense.
Absolutely.
But I have, so there's it's a level of surrender and trust.
And a governing spontaneity. I just coined that phrase, I think, right? Like there's a logic that emerges from being free and surrendering to it. Yeah.
I always feel when I'm writing that I have to get into character to be, what sort of point of view is this story being told from? Who are these people? I have to get into that character.
Right.
And then it leads me where it leads me. Oftentimes it's stuff where I'm like, well, I did not know that was going to happen.
Right.
Yeah, which is what's all I feel like as a transcriber, whether it's in front of the camera or behind.
Absolutely.
Just
I feel exactly the same.
Yeah, absolutely.